morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today we got ourselves a new supporter and a new secret version of it as well, which frankly kinda sounds like fun. We've got ourselves Drasna. And I'm just gonna ask this question at the beginning of the video. How many of you remembered who Drasna was? Now, she's one of the Elite Four from Kalos, that is Gen 6, and I remembered because I played through Gen 6 not that long ago. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that for the vast majority of people, you didn't remember who Drasna was. And honestly, I don't blame you. And certainly if you're a TCG fan, you might be thinking, oh, what cards has Drasna been featured on before? None. No cards whatsoever. Now, she is actually a dragon-type trainer. She is the dragon trainer of the Elite Four. And it's kind of cool that this card is coming in Paradise Dragona. But there's no relation here whatsoever to Dragon. Like, it's cool that we're getting this dragon-type Elite Four trainer in the set. It's nice that this is a set where they're making their debut. And again, Gen 6 was 3 generations ago. It is about time we finally got a Drasna card in the Pokemon TCG. But this card has absolutely no relation to dragons whatsoever. What it does, and I have done the translation myself and then checked with the lovely Antoine Boulet to make sure I've not done anything dumb. Shuffle your hand into your deck and then flip a coin. If heads, draw 8 cards. If tails, draw 3 cards. Okay, it's a draw supporter. And I gotta tell ya, not a terrible draw supporter. Now, obviously if you flip heads, great draw supporter. If you flip tails, Nemona. I mean, there was not much reason to play Nemona generally. Now there's even less. Although to be fair, Nemona does draw 3, so it's a +3. Whereas this is like shuffle draw 3, so you only get 3. So maybe it's actually worse than Nemona if you flip tails. Okay, fine. It's worse than Nemona if you flip tails. But the point is, if you get heads, it's a shuffle draw 8. My worry here is, and I'm sorry, but some of you might already be seeing this, but I've got to put it out there. You might flip tails. And that is not an ideal situation at all. Several of you are going to look at this and go, hang on a second. This is a more extreme Professor Birch. And it is a more extreme Professor Birch. We got this back in Primal Clash many years ago at this stage. And that was the same card. But tails drew you 4 cards, 1 more. Heads drew you 7 cards, 1 less. So this is very much a more extreme Birch. It's better if you flip heads and worse if you flip tails. Now, that's kind of important because Judge is a thing, right? And we all play Judge as disruption. But if we're playing Judge, we're kind of saying we're all right with a shuffle draw 4. Playing a Judge is the same thing as saying, look, I'm okay shuffling my hand into my deck and drawing 4 because I'm also hurting my opponent. And that's okay for me. I'm willing to take that hit. Are we okay with a shuffle draw 3? Because Birch, legit saw some play. But the thing with Birch was, like I say, we all essentially decided we were cool with a shuffle draw 4. Are we cool with a shuffle draw 3? Or is that a step too far? Because we've actually got a shuffle draw 8 with a massive asterisk next to it in the format at the moment. And that is, of course, the Lacey that we're just getting in Stellar Crown. Because that is a shuffle draw 4. And again, we're generally cool with a shuffle draw 4. But if your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining, it turns into a shuffle draw 8. And I will tell you as a side note, I know some of you have got pre-releases coming up next weekend. Play this in your pre-release. It turns up in some of the pre-constructed packs, and I think it does anyway. And you'll get some in your packs maybe. It's a ridiculous card in a pre-release. It is an absurd card in a pre-release. As soon as your opponent takes a single prize, it's just a shuffle draw 8. So, yeah, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, this is redonk in your pre-release. And it's not the only time we've had Shuffle Draw 8, because we got Parasol Lady, which is a shuffle draw 8, but only if you go second and it's your first turn. Or we've got Kabu, which is a shuffle draw 8, but only if your active Pokemon is your only Pokemon in play, although that one has, of course, rotated out. That was back in Champion's Path. So, Shuffle Draw 8 is a thing. Oh, okay, fine. We also had Katie, but Katie is like a guaranteed Shuffle Draw 8, but it ends your turn, making it like the worst of all of them. So, we've had a bunch of Shuffle Draw 8. The problem is none of them have really seen play. But then again, Katie ends your turn. That was never going to be a thing. Parasol Lady, you can only use it as a Shuffle Draw 8 for a single turn. Kabu, I did see some decks playing Kabu. And I just want to be 100% clear here. It was a very fringe card. It was a couple of decks here and there. I am not trying to rewrite history and say that Kabu was a widely played card. It was not. But I am saying I saw it played in a few decks here and there. Here, I think the real big question is Lacey. And honestly, I'm not even sure that's such a fair comparison. Because Lacey is a late game deal. You're playing Lacey as an, in the late game, I'm going to rush ahead. I'm giving up Iono, for instance. I'm not trying to hurt my opponent and disrupt them in the late game. I am trying to get to the late game and go, my deck is faster and more aggressive and more powerful, whatever. We're going to get to the late game and I'm going to win. Okay, cool. This is a chancing it. And I kind of like this as a one-off. Because, of course, nowadays, we've got a bazillion ways to search for one-off supporters. A lot of decks are still playing Pidgeot. And a lot of decks are still playing Forest Seal Stone, for instance. And then, of course, we've got Noctowl, which a lot of decks are going to start playing as a, look, you evolve into it, you get to search for 2 trainer cards. That's really good. And I kind of like this as a one-off where you go, look, I need a lot. And I need a lot right now. And if I don't get quite a lot right now, I've lost the game. I need a Shuffle Draw 8. I am willing to risk that it's a Shuffle Draw 3 because the Shuffle Draw 8 would be so good for me right now. I've got 1 card in hand and I really need to turn it into 8. And I think it remains as a one-off. I don't think you play it as your main supporter because, you know, half the time it's going to be a Shuffle Draw 3. That's terrible. But I think playing it as kind of a one-off emergency card for I need a big hand right now, I can see some merit in that. Obviously, in pre-releases, it's going to be ridiculous. The thing is, I know Professor Birch saw a bunch of play. And maybe this sees a bunch of play in the same way that Professor Birch saw a bunch of play. But I do think it is very, very relevant that Professor Birch never gave you fewer than 4. And we've got cards like Judge, which have basically shown us we're happy with a Shuffle Draw 4. I worry that a Shuffle Draw 3 is essentially a step too far. But also, don't forget, if you're playing this in, say, Bibarel decks, I kind of like this. Because the theory is, if you hit heads, Shuffle Draw 8. If you flip tails, Shuffle Draw 5. Because you go to 3 and then you maybe play 1 or 2 and then you play the Bibarel anyway. There is an argument here in Bibarel decks as well that this gives you, you know, you're going to get 5 cards, right? And at that point, we go, okay, well, the minimum's 5, that's doable. But then you've got the chance of 8. And seriously, right, if you get 8 cards off of this, you are going to be sitting pretty. You're going to get basically everything you need. The worry here is that you only end up with 3 cards, but use Bibarel to mitigate that, and then try for the Shuffle Draw 8. I'm saying there's a chance that actually works. It is not a terrible card. There are absolutely arguments for it, and I've made them in this video. I do not think you are going to randomly play this. Oh, by the way, here's the full art. Look how good it is. I put it on the screen earlier, but let's put it on here as I'm giving my conclusion. I don't think it is a card that you are going to blindly play as a 4 of in every deck. I don't think it's good enough for that. But in particular decks, under specific circumstances, oh my word, this could actually work, and I kind of love it. But I've told you about all that now, so now it's over to you guys. Oh, actually, no. There's one more thing we need to mention. I don't know if we're getting a special illustration rare, but we've seen this many, many, many times before. The reveal of a full art about this time does not mean we're not getting a special illustration rare. It doesn't mean we are, but Pokemon have done this a lot, where they reveal the full art, and then later on, they go and reveal the special illustration rare. So don't read anything into that, other than we've got a full art, and it's kind of lovely. Right, there we go. That's what I need to tell you. Oh, the between 3 and 4 Wassies, we don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Like I say, it's not a must-play in every deck, but there are arguments for it. There we go. Now tell me what you think about this card in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.